Good evening, everyone. We'll call this Enterprise Planning Commission meeting for September the 27th, 2022 to order at this time. Please note that all commission members are present except Mr. Bobby Hancock and Mr. Lee Milner. Again, welcome. When we get to your request, and once we have voted on your request, you're not required to stay at the meeting, but you are very welcome to do that. And when we get to your request, if you would come forward and give us some your full name or your company and some information on your request, and also we'll have a time for the public hearing. When you come at that time, when it's called for, you have 3 minutes. And if you would give your name and your address of your home or your business at that time, we would definitely appreciate it. That said, the commission, you received the minutes for our August the 23rd, 2022 meeting. I'll accept any correction or objection or approve for that. Minutes.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes for the August 23rd, 2022 meeting. All in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Passes. Thank you very much. There will be an amendment to our agenda today for old business. The request by Arnold Realty Management has been pulled at this time. So just for the record, we wanted to note that it has been pulled. So this time we will move into new business, and we have a request by the Industrial Development Board of the City of Enterprise for approval of the location of a public facility in M2 zone on Commerce Drive at Yancey Parker Industrial Park. Is there someone from the staff would like to speak on
that? Commission, as I'll go ahead and flip through it on the slide. It's item 1 of our agenda. Very briefly, a request by the Industrial Development Board of the City of Enterprise for approval of the location of a public facility in an M2 zone on Commerce Drive at Yancey Parker Industrial Park. Staff finds the use of a public facility to be acceptable use and recommends approval. That will be the building that's currently being constructed right now by the county, I'm correct, to move the ALEA agency into that building over there in the Yancey Industrial Park.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hardy.
Thank you.
Commission, do you all have?
That's good.
Yeah. Commission, do you all have any questions? Okay. Well, at this time, we'll open that for a public hearing. Is there anyone to come to speak on the request that we just opened? We'll hear you at this time. You have 3 minutes. If not, we'll close the public hearing at this time. And commission, I'll accept a motion.
Motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve a request by Industrial Development Board of the City of Enterprise for approval of the location of a public facility in an M2 zone on Commerce Drive at Yancey Park Industrial Park. All in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposes? Passes. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, we have a request by Michael Quinn of JJB Pizza 2 for site plan approval for a new Pizza Hut restaurant located at 826 East Lee Street. Staff, would you have any comments on that one?
Yes, sir. Commission. So as you can see on the screen, this was a sample of the submitted site plan review submitted to us. So when we did the staff review on this, we found that the current zoning was a B1 area. Staff finds that the proposed location is development to be in the highway corridor overlay district, which means that there's just some certain regulations that they have to abide by. That's not that not everyone has to abide by. These are for new constructions on major highways like Bowweevil Circle, 134, those type of developments. So we did make some comments that we have addressed to the developer, and the developer has agreed to change those aspects of the site plan. Some of those were that there was a minimum of 7-foot sidewalk that has to be in that area. There was only 5 foot. They've agreed to change that. The landscaping was not noted on the site plan. They have agreed to get us a landscaping plan for this development. So what we do is staff recommends the approval of the site plan contingent on all designs currently not in compliance with city ordinances be correct, as noted above in our staff review.
Okay.
Does the commission have any questions?
Any questions, Mr. Hardy? Thank you, Mr.
I
Hardy.
got one question. On the exits and entrance on the upper right or up there, that's a right turn going out, and then if you're coming down Lee going to the circle, that'll be a right turn in. There won't be anybody coming across trying to turn left. If they're going to go in, they're going to have to come down and turn into that entrance where Publix is at and go through that other back entrance, right?
Yes, sir. From what I've driven past there and looked at it, that's
Okay.
that's my understanding.
Yeah.
That's going to be
That'd be
one
the
in,
safest
one
way
out.
because how short that light is up there and everything else. Okay, make sure.
Okay, would the requester for this come forward if they would, please?
Good afternoon, Ben Watson, Live Oak Engineering, representing JJB and Pizza, to Pizza. As you say, yes, that is a right turn, right out only, as constructed entrance. We're not doing any work. That is out right away. We're staying out of right away. We want to not touch. You understand?
Yes.
So yes, as noted, the sidewalk comments, landscape comments. We wholeheartedly agree to make those changes. Those are nothing that will hold us up, and we would like to move forward with conditional approval until we can supply the staff with necessary comments.
And so you aware of the 7-foot sidewalks that
Yes.
Ms. Hardy? And
Yes,
all
and
the other contingencies?
We've already addressed those without submittal back to you, so we know how to address those. Not a problem. Just gotta, and that's what I wanted to discuss was make sure landscape wise there was no particular tree choice, and there's not. So we will make it look the way we want to make it look per code.
Okay,
And
Mr.
so
Watts.
we're content with that.
Is there any other question from the commission at this time?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watson.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. At this time, we will open the floor for public comments for this request at this time. If not, we'll close the public comment at this time. So I'll accept the motion on this request to include those 7-foot sidewalks as stated by Mr. Hardy, and also to include the contingencies. I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
We have a motion. I have a motion and a second to approve a request by Michael Quinn of JJB Pizza 2 and site plan approved for a new Pizza Hut restaurant located at 826 East Lee Street with submitted site plans with 7 feet sidewalks and contingency on all designs currently not in compliance with the city ordinance be corrected. Any questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Passes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda, we have a request by board engineer for final plat approval for Arrowhead subdivision phase 3 and 4. Mr. Hardy.
You see on the screen, it was a request by board engineering for final plat approval for Arrowhead subdivision phase 3 and phase 4. Staff recommends approving the plat contingent on the punch list provided to the developer by the city engineer be completed. Basically, what we're saying in that is that we recommend that it be approved contingent upon the punch list that we will provide to board engineering be completed. Everything that needs to be fixed on before we'll take over the roads, take over everything, be completed. But besides that, we have no other comments on it.
Okay. Commission, any questions for Mr. Hardy? Okay. Would the requester for this request come forward, please?
Hey, I'm Dallas Boyd of Board Engineering. As Tom stated, we're here to request the final plat approval for Arrowhead Phase 3 and 4. We did the design and the construction on this. Everything's been put in. There are a couple of punch list items, though. For example, some touching up of the asphalt, some items with the water line, things like that. Some simple things for the most part. And we're fully committed to get those taken care of right away.
Okay. Commission, any questions?
Sidewalks?
Oh, Mr. Boyd?
You know my sidewalks.
Yes, sir. I know. So this is the final plat. Everything's been put in. We're unfortunately on the tail end of the construction here, so there won't be any sidewalks in these phases.
can we still, by the table in our zoning board, is approved, the planning commission can,
So,
or is it, we have to do it earlier than the final
we
plat?
have to do it in the preliminary plat. We have to.
That's why I mentioned it earlier too.
So the planning commission has the authority that during the preliminary plat stage that they can require sidewalks. So if the planning commission desires sidewalks, during the planning commit or during the preliminary plat stage is when we can require them.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Thank you. Appreciate you answering those questions. At this time, we'll open the floor for public comments on this request. If there be any, if you would come forward at this time, please. If not, we'll close the public comment section at this time. And now I'll accept a motion on this request with the contingencies of the punch list and the items that Mr. Hardy mentioned.
Motion.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve the request by board engineer for final plat approval for Arrowhead subdivision phase 3, contingency on the punch list provided to the developer by the city engineer to be completed. Are there any questions?
May I just get who seconded that motion for the record?
I think Justin said.
Justin Session. Okay. Can we just, because it's kind of hard to hear out here, can we make sure that we speak into the microphone when we're doing the motions?
All right.
Thank you very much.
No problem. We can handle that, Mr. Hardy. Thank you very much. Okay. We have. Okay, I'll start in. It was in the question.
So, I do have a question. Scotty, is there anything we can do to help with the question?
On the sidewalks? No, because what
Yeah.
Mr. Hardy just said, but I'll go on record to say we mentioned it back then, and I keep mentioning those folks. We have preliminaries today. We'll make sure. No,
Oh, it's already, it's at past.
if I'm moving to an area, I'm going where the sidewalk's at. I'm
Yeah,
just
no
saying.
problem asking. We want everybody, every mind to be,
safety.
on one accord. So no problem asking the question. We can get straight and you can understand. No problem. Okay.
Hey,
Okay.
Mr. Mott.
Mr. Mott?
I know this is your discussion, so, but your question, about sidewalks, because we don't have anything in the subdivision regulations that mandate sidewalks are there now. You know that we're doing a long-range plan, and that's part of the things that we're looking at is a cross-section of what the street section should be, sidewalks, not sidewalks. But since we don't have that currently, but we're working towards that, hopefully we'll have that finished by the end of this calendar year. If when you do a preliminary plat, if you will mandate that that is a requirement for approval, then we will make sure when we get construction drawings in that we will dictate that sidewalks are included.
Right.
I just want to make sure
People-
we're clear. We're clear on that. We are working on them. I just wanted you to know that that's something, but because we do not have that as a requirement in the subdivision regulations that we currently have, we're doing everything we can. Staff is doing everything we can within the regulations that we currently have.
Thank you, Mr. Mark. We appreciate that. Okay, we will continue at this time with the question for the commission. Any question? Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposes? Passes. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have a request by Reeves Engineers and Construction LLC on behalf of Galango Incorporation for primary plat approval for College Garden subdivision. Mr. Harding, do you have anything for the staff? That's staff.
Commissioner, attention to the slideshow. So I'm going to kind of run you through a couple pictures. That way I can show you everything that we have and show the audience as well.
Okay.
So I had given my comments that I'd also given you on the staff report to the developer. They had addressed all of my comments that I had given them. So this is the preliminary plat that they had just turned into me, I believe today or yesterday is when I got this. So I went ahead and updated the slideshow to go ahead and show you what they did.
Okay.
So I asked them to make a connection over to that Lakeview Drive, Water Street. They obliged with us to do that. Everything else they answered with certainty, and we got everything smoothed out. So this is going to be the top of the development. As you can see, they're going to have a double entrance coming off College Street. There's going to be plenty of room for plenty of buffer between those houses and the street right there. It's going to go down. It's also going to connect again into Pistol in the lower part of the subdivision. And then this is just the whole subdivision that we're looking at. I believe it's going to be around, I think 200 houses. 200 lots that are going to be inside the subdivision. But our recommendation was that approval contingent upon the listed issues being corrected on the preliminary plat. They've already corrected the issues on the preliminary plat, so staff recommends approving of this new preliminary plat that they submitted to us.
Okay, so at this point, all the contingencies that you had prior to and the corrections, they already been made, so all we just...
Yes, sir, they have been made. Yes, sir.
I just want to... Any questions, Commissioner?
Those are sidewalks I see, right?
We're gonna have
We have a
we're gonna have
discussion?
Mr.
Okay.
Reeves up in a moment. We'll have Mr. Reeves up in a moment.
Well, I know it.
Would the requester for this please come forward and get information on this at this time, please?
My name is Alec Reeves with Reeves Engineering and Construction here on behalf of Yolanco, seeking preliminary plat approval for College Garden, 72 acre subdivision with about 200 lots. I guess any questions necessarily? I don't have. Yes, sorry.
Is there any question from the
Sidewalks. That's sidewalks
There
I
are no
see, right?
sidewalks.
I see them all around.
That's the right of way line. So there are no sidewalks.
Huh?
There's not any sidewalks.
There's not. Okay, I saw that look like you might approve.
Yeah, that's just.
Well, I'm going to invoke like the mandate that we have sidewalks in the preliminary.
Are there any other questions for the commission at this time? Thank you, Mr. Reed. We appreciate you coming forward. So at this time, we'll open the floor for public comments. If you will come forward, you have 3 minutes to speak on this request at this time. If you just come up, if you give us your name and your address. And
How you doing? My name is Gary Dobbs. James Dobbs. We have a little problem with the subdivision where Water Street comes in and Lakeview Lakeway hit. We've had a dirt road that's been down there for 50 years. I think my father bought the land 55 to 60 acres from J.D. Griffin. We've had a dirt road going down there all the way to the back for right at 50 years, because I think he bought it in the late 1950s or early 60s. And we've gone in there. The city has asked to go in the road and go down there so they could get over to the sewage plant thing that they've got way back over there. We gave them a key, let them go through the road, and then they went down there and cut a road so they could get down over to it. We told them we would let them go down there anytime they wanted to. I did not want to give Rayner wanted to have to give them an easement. I really didn't want to give them an easement. I give them a word they could go down anytime they wanted to, and get to it. The GPS shows that dirt road is part of the subdivision. However, my understanding is they're wanting to take 25 foot of that dirt road and start putting houses on it. You're supposed to have an interest of 50 feet. If we ever decide to develop that down there, we won't have the 50 feet if they push over into the dirt road. They take 25 of the 50 foot. So at this time, I would like for you not to approve it till either we can work something out with Brett and them, work something out with them, or get something straight. I mean, I have talked to some lawyers, and they say we have some rights, but also they have some rights too. So we would like for it not to. I was out of town. The first letter came through. I got the second letter, so that's why I'm here.
Me and my sister are property owners. We never got a letter. we're on the deed. Neither one of us ever got a letter.
And
This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
I got the first letter. I mean, I came back out of town and went up and got the letter, and it only had my name on it. The second letter I got had mine and James's name on it. And my daughter, Soren Chisholm, she owns a fourth, he owns a fourth, I own a half. So I would like for us to hold up on this till we can work something out, and till whether I have time to talk some more with my lawyers or try to talk to them and work something out with them. Because if they come over 25 foot in there, they're knocking Mr. Hurley out where he can't even get back to his driveway hardly. That doesn't leave me a 50-foot opening to get in. And like I say, the dirt road's been there forever. I mean, everybody in the world has used it till we put a gate up, to go back down in there. I went down there when I was a young boy. I'm old as dirt now. And that dirt road went there. Now, we're not complaining about them rezoning. Not that I completely understand the difference between 65 zone and 100 zone family, but we're not complaining that. We're complaining about taking part of that road, and then where we're going to be able to get into our land, with no problems.
What we're concerned about is right here.
Might be the next one.
Right here.
Yeah.
Actually, we thought we had 50 foot right here from the city when I built the pond in 2000. Now I have two other accesses to that 50 acres, which they want me to use. However, they're both in swamps. They're inaccessible. This is the only way we can enter that land since the 50s. Right. I've been here since the 90s. We always thought we had 50 here. It looks like he's pulling over and taking this 25 right here, which is, how are we going to get in our land, and is it going to be enough of a leeway for us to get through there to enter our land? Is it one of our main concerns?
And I don't know, from what little bit I have talked to attorneys, there's a prescriptive easement that should become involved in this. We don't want to stop the subdivision or anything like that. We just want to make sure we get some things worked out to our benefit as well as their benefit, and for the city. Because if we don't have the city requires you have to have a 50-foot entrance. And they made me, I had to sell some land to somebody back up there off this land because of a 50-foot entrance went in, and they were building too close to the road. So I had to sell them 100 or 150 foot so they could get farther back from that 50-foot entrance, which nobody will ever go in, but we had to meet that regulation. So until we can get something worked out, I haven't had a chance to talk to Danny Gay and him or his son or anyone. This sort of came up on me quickly, and then trying to talk to an attorney and see what rights we did have or what we could work out. And really, I would rather work something out is what I would like to do if we can work it out.
So the 50 feet that you were mentioning about, the other persons own that part of it. You all don't own that part. The 50 feet.
He owns 25 foot of it.
Of that.
But we've been going across. I mean, that's been used. That road been used there. Going straight water straight on down that 50 foot has been used going all the way down that property between what he has bought, I think, from the Kirklands. I know the Hendersons used to farm it, and I used to talk to them because there's a big gully down there, and people used to go down and throw refrigerators and stuff. And finally got that cleaned up many years ago and roofing out of there and filled it up with tree branches and trees, but it still is a gully back there. But that time I would like for us to not approve this till we can work something out. Like I say, I haven't had a chance to talk to them about it.
I was just at the gate this morning going in and saw Mr. Gay there, and he showed me the plot. We actually thought our property line was over somewhere else. So we're just now figuring out that our property line is not where it was, where we thought for the past 35 years. So,
but
we'd like
like
a little more time if we could.
Right, but like I say, that road's been used for dang near 50 years going down there. And then we have put gravel on it, but that's been feed into the dirt.
Yes, sir.
But my understanding was, and if you look at a GPS, it shows that road goes right on back. I mean, waters extend 50 foot straight on back down there, all the way through our property, between property that he bought, I think, from the Kirklands.
All right, well, all right, Mr. Dobbs, we
Yeah.
thank you for coming forth
All right.
to bring that information to us and your concerns. We do appreciate that, sir. Thank you very much. We still have the floor open for public comment on this. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this?
I'm Judy Winkler. I live at 109 Pinecrest. And my question is, what type of homes are these going to be? Are they all going to be single family? And the ones that are along Pistol, which way will the front of the house face? Are they going to be facing Pistol or away from Pistol? Will the back of the house be along Pistol?
Okay. You say the road, name of the road is Pistol? Pistol?
When the builders come back in,
Yeah.
we can ask them.
Yeah, I'm just getting you information.
And will there be a fence along Pistol?
I can answer that, ma'am.
Yes.
So all the houses that do come along Pistol, they'll back up to Pistol, so that you'll see the back fence of those houses. Everything will be in the subdivision. The only streets that access or go to Pistol are just for access, like down here at the bottom, over here at the top. Yes, a side entrance. The cities want more than one entrance. The city wants multiple entrances, so people egress to get in and out. Right, so we've got technically 1, 2, 3, 4 entrance and exits.
Right in front of my house.
Right.
There will be a fence there though, or something to block, so that we're not looking into there, and they're not looking in my backyard.
I mean, I can't guarantee someone will have a fence, but most people put privacy fences.
You're not gonna have one for the whole.
Ms. Wendell, do you have anything else for the commission? I think he answered
No.
the question as far as the Pistol Street. Did you have anything else for the commission?
That was my concern, was which way the houses, so we had an idea what we need to do.
Oh, well, I'm glad he was able to answer that for you. Thank you very much, ma'am. Floor is still open for public comments. If there's anyone else that hasn't spoke, if you come up, please.
I am Michael Pirtle. I own the resident at 1605 West College Street. That's the property to the left of where the new grand entrance to the subdivision will be. And my question is, what type of barrier would be put in there to block the disturbance from the new road beside my house? Would it be a natural barrier, wooden fence, and also along the back side of the property there, is there going to be a barrier along that property line as well, such as a privacy fence or something? Also, that driveway that is there currently is a double driveway. I share the driveway directly to the property that is going to be the new access to the subdivision. So when that other driveway is removed, and I assume that it would be for purposes of beautification, but are they going to be able to fix my driveway that is currently there? It's cracked, and it's also got a large entrance to that driveway. So just wanting to make sure that I can keep a radius going into my driveway from there, from where they removed the old driveway, and then maybe fix where it's already currently broke going in and out right there. It's a large break across the whole driveway at that access point. So
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Person. We appreciate you, sir. Thank you for taking time to come to the commission.
also, there is a sidewalk that connects my driveway and house to the current house that's there. So, I don't know that we need to keep the sidewalk there in between the houses. It was put back years ago before I purchased the house in 2015. So I believe we most likely want to remove that sidewalk connecting the two properties. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you for taking the time to come. Again, the floor is still open for public comments on this request. If you haven't spoken, if you want to come forward to this time. If not, public hearing is closed at this time. Okay. Mr. Hardy, you had,
Gentlemen,
yes.
my recommendation, based upon the fact that we've got a conflict for property lines between two property owners that basically pertains to lots 1, 2, and 3 of Block I, where he's talking about
Yes.
this area right there.
Yes.
At this point, staff would recommend that we move forward with a preliminary plat as submitted with the exclusion of lots 1, 2, and 3 in Block I. And I'd ask that Mr. Dobbs and Mr. Gay get together and rectify their property line concerns on those 3 lots. That we're okay with the subdivision moving forward as preliminary plat, but not doing 1, 2, and 3 till they can rectify those 3 lots. And I would ask that the applicant, if that would be acceptable to them for this preliminary plat application.
Mr. Reed, if you would come forward and thank you again for coming. We appreciate that. You've heard what city engineer, Mr. Mott, has stated.
Yes.
Would you, are you
Yes,
in
that's
agreement with that?
acceptable. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That's perfectly fine.
thank you.
Would you mind addressing the buffer or landscaping the plans that you plan on
Yes.
coming into the entrance for them?
Britt, you might be able to speak on that more. I think he was actually going to discuss that with him after.
Oh, okay. Well, if he come, let us know. Yes, he was, Ms. Pistol will mention the barriers and also the barrier at the back, and also he mentioned something
For the
about,
main entrance.
yes, for the entrance.
For his lot that's to the left of the entrance, yeah.
That's
So,
it, yes.
so we're going to do a landscaped entrance that will have, there already is some natural buffer, but we'll make sure there is foliage added to make it a nice grand entrance. As far as the driveway, we'll work that out. Because it is a joining driveway, that's just been shared for years. We'll make sure he has access to his property. And as far as the sidewalk, I'll really look at the sidewalk. And then as far as all the other homes that are behind him, they'll back up to each other. His home will back up to the other homes now. The way prices have been, we haven't put privacy fences on every house as a standard, but most people do end up putting privacy fences. And I know there is some brush back there. I haven't really walked back there because we haven't really cut it to access it. But, generally people do put fences in between properties. I can't guarantee that I'll put a fence, but everything we're doing there will be landscaped and nice.
Okay, all right, thank you again.
Thank
And
you.
your name again was?
My name is Britt Gay.
Gay. Thank you, Mr. Gay.
Uh-huh.
No, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. Okay, as I state, the public hearing is closed at this time. Do you have any? I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say one of the things on the preliminary plat that was not listed that I spoke to the developer earlier about, but we just want to make sure that it goes on the record that we need them. There's no place for the cluster mailbox currently on this preliminary plat, so approved location for the cluster mailbox will need to be added to the plat in the future, like construction drawings. So we want to make sure that's put on record.
Okay, all right, thank you. Commission, did you have any other questions? Oh, excuse me, Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter, did you have any? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we have a request by Reeves Engineering Construction LLC on behalf of Galenco Incorporated for primary plat approved for College Garden subdivision. I'll accept the motion with the statement that included the statement that Mr. Mott have made and accepted by Mr. Reeves. Your question?
Sidewalk. Is this appropriate time now?
Oh, you had
With the
questions?
mandate, yeah.
Oh, I thought you had asked them about it.
Well, we did, but I want to make sure we mandated that it will be, we got the preliminary plat. I don't want to wait till final and then they go, well, it's final, we can't do it.
Okay, we make the motion.
Yeah.
And the commission vote on agree.
Okay, make a motion that we mandate sidewalks within this subdivision.
Good, yes.
Per our zoning, look, there's the table 4-1.
My understanding is the subdivision regulations don't require that, and my concern is, and I understand totally your concern, Scotty, is, if you're gonna do it, I would do it by amending the subdivision regulations. Otherwise, you're gonna give developers who showed up here last month an advantage over developers now, as opposed to when you make a change to the subdivision regulations, everybody's on the same playing field going forward. I'm just saying, maybe before y'all require that, you go through the procedure to amend the subdivision regulations so you can have public hearings and everyone can
It's in a
comment.
table. Thomas, you got that table you can bring up that says the asterisk on it,
So
that if the planning commission can.
well, the motion that I has stated, which is on the floor at this time, is that for a request by Reeves Engineering Construction LLC on behalf of Glencoe for primary plat approval
wish I
College
brought my
Garden
book.
subdivision with the conclusion with the statement that Mr. Mott have made an agreement upon Mr. Reed. That's just the motion on the floor at this time. So that's what no, you're good. You're good. I think we was adding on to the motion, which I had already stated, but you can't do that. So we can get that straight later, but that's the motion at this time. So is there any other questions? Okay, if not, I already stated the motion. All in favor, raise your hand, right hand. Okay, and opposes, same time. Go. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I don't think we got it. And we got interrupted on that.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll accept the motion.
Second. I'll
I
second.
thought he seconded.
No, but I will.
All in favor, raise your right hand. And opposes, same side. Passed it at this time. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have a request by the City of Enterprise to amend the zoning ordinance, amending Table 4-1 to add certain allowed uses and to amend use definition.
All right, so item 5, you can see that I have this table up. I'm going to give them a quick minute to recess.
If we could, excuse me, if there's any discussion without not coming to the commission, I would ask you if you please step outside. Excuse me. Thank you. Mr. Hardy?
Yes, sir. So as you can see on your agenda, item 5, we're going to be, it's a request by the City of Enterprise to amend the zoning ordinance, amending Table 4.1 to add certain allowed uses and amend use definitions. So basically what we're doing is we're taking our zoning table and we are allowing different uses in a couple areas, and we are actually adding a use, which I'd include the top piece. But as you see on this one right here, we have the mini warehouses. You see the R in red, and then the recreational vehicle park in red. Those are the only two things that are being changed on that one. That zone is going to be the PBD zone. So what that will basically do is that will allow those uses, the mini warehousing and the recreational vehicle park, an RV park, will allow them in that area under an R restriction. And an R restriction means it's a review and approval by the planning commission. So if they wanted to come do that stuff, they have to bring it to us. One, they're going to have to rezone it to a PBD, but then they're also going to have to get approval from us to do that. This makes it where any current PBDs, you can't just go slap a warehouse in it or something like that and say I have a right to do it. So that's why we have that R. That's why we have the R contingency. So I'm going to move down the table a little bit. Well, up the table actually. As you can see, the PBD on the top, you see the R for salvage yard. You see the R for vehicle equipment repair major and vehicle equipment sales major. In the PBD, and then you see tow truck services, which is in red, and you see all the zones that they're allowed to be used in are also in R. Those zones are B3, PBD, M1, M2, M3. The reason why we went with that with the tow truck services is because those are our biggest zones. So normally a tow truck company, they're going to need a lot of space to be in. So they're going to need our biggest zones. Also, the reason why we put them in a PBD is so that way when somebody comes forth with a PBD rezoning, we can require really whatever we want to require in that area to make sure that it's in compatible use with the surrounding areas. And so that's the reason why we added the salvage yard, major equipment sales and repairs as R in that PBD as well. That way it gives us more use for our PBD zoning. That way, you know, somebody comes in, they want to do something. It may not be the best for the neighborhood just in a blanket, but if we were able to come in there and modify a few things like we would be able to do in a PBD, then we would be able to do that. So, and so our recommendation is to approve this table. Do you guys have any questions on it?
Commissioner, any questions for Mr. Hardy? Thank you, Mr. Hardy.
Okay.
At this time, we'll open the floor for public comment on the request that we're on at this time. You can come forward. If not, we close the public comment at this time. So, Commissioner, I will accept the request by the City of Enterprise to amend the zoning order, amending Table 4-1 to add certain allowed uses and to amend the use definition. Are there any questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Let's see, we'll have a motion. Motion? Second. A motion and a second to approve it. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposes, same sign. Passes. Thank you. Next, we have a request by Brent Howell for the rezoning of 18.75 acres of land from Agriculture 2 Agriculture District as shown on Map A present to PBD Planned Business District as shown on Map B proposed located off of Sheffield Road.
So I just want to go ahead and go through the staff report with you. The major thing about this rezone is contingent upon Ordinance 1004-22 being passed. That's basically the ordinance name for what you just recommended to go to the City Council. The amendment of that zoning table, because right now many storehouses or many warehouses are not allowed in a PBD zone, so that's the reason why I had to go before it first to get approval. Once if it goes through City Council, gets approved through City Council, this one is contingent upon that. If it doesn't get approved, this rezoning is pretty much dead in the water. So I'm going to go ahead and you can turn your attention to the screen. You can see Rezone Map A present. As you can see, it's Agriculture 2 with R100 to the side of it. And as you can see, the rezone, there would be Agriculture 2 to the side of it, which would be Sheffield Airfield, and then R100 neighborhood. This is the entire zoning map, so you can see around it there is a lot of residential, and then the big Agriculture 2 zone is the airfield. This is what we have been sent, like a proposed site plan, basically showing the widths, what they're going to be doing right there. The heights are not listed on there, but we've told that the heights there will be nothing greater than 20 feet in that area. So staff finds that the contiguous zoning, that means just the zoning that's around it, to be R100 and Agriculture 2. Staff finds that proposed rezoning to align with the comprehensive plan for the City of Enterprise. Staff finds required landscaping or buffer yards for a PBD zone were not included on the site plan. I have spoke to the engineer of this site plan, have informed him of what the PBD zones will be. It'll be a 20-foot barrier from anything residential, 15 foot off the road, buffer zone, which will just be green space. So he's notified of that, so that way he can correct the site plan. So I'm going to go ahead and get us to switch to a different slideshow, and I'm going to call for the representative from the Sheffield Airfield Base to kind of run that through with y'all.
All right, thank you.
Got you.
Hey, so I'm Rob Holcomb, I'm the garrison commander out at Fort Rucker. So appreciate the commission hearing from us and just kind of see how we see things.
in the future, anything that that comes up next to an airfield like this, really appreciate the invitation to talk. I mean, we see ourselves certainly as part of the community, and so this opportunity is something that we're really grateful for. So going forward, I'm always happy to come and talk to you guys if there's anything like this that comes up. In this case, the concerns with property coming next to Shell Airfield is that we have airspace that extends out beyond the limits of the airfield itself. The two zones that we're concerned about are the accident potential zone. When we are taking off for landing is the most dangerous, the highest probable chance of an aircraft mishap. So when you look at either a runway or a helipad, we're looking at the areas that are just beyond that as an aircraft is taking off or the aircraft is landing. So in the case of most of our runways and helipads, that extends about 1,200 feet beyond the edge of the runway or off the edge of the runway. In a lot of cases, our airfields are large enough that the runways don't abut the edge of the fence, but in this case it does. So in this case, the end of the runways, and then when you add on that 1,200 feet for the APZ, it actually goes beyond the edge of Shell Airfield and into the zone that you guys are projecting here. The other piece of airspace is the departure area, and that is a sort of an inclined plane. If you think from the area that an aircraft will land, it goes up and out from the airfield. So in that particular zone, what we're concerned about is we don't have structures that are high enough that they penetrate into that zone. So as an aircraft is coming in to land, we need to keep that area clear. So those are the two main zones. Good news is in this case, what we have is that the first slide is depicting that accident potential zone. You can see the 1,200 foot as it extends over the proposed or into the proposed zone. In this case, because the buildings are being used as storage, that's an exception in the Department of Defense guidance for these types of airspace. So we don't have any issues at all because the planned use for this zone is the storage facilities. But you can see as depicted that 1,200 feet as it goes beyond the runways. So if we go to the next slide, the next piece of airspace, and this is the DoD instructions, which specifically shows that warehousing or storage services are exempt from that particular zoning restriction. If you go to the next slide, this is again a depiction of that approach departure surface area. That is the one that's kind of a plane that goes up and out above the area. And next slide. So this shows that airspace depicted over the zone in concern. Again, because Shell Airfield is higher in elevation than the zone listed here, we don't expect any intrusion into that airspace from any of the structures that are planned here. The one thing that we have asked is because we're going to have students training both at night during the day, that there are some NVG considerations. So as you're coming off the runway, if you're looking at a warehouse district or a bunch of warehouses with bright floodlights, we all want security around our warehouses and things like that. So the only thing we asked was that the lighting there be, there's things you can install cone focused down, so the floodlights are oriented so that they provide light and security to the buildings, but that they don't interfere with the flight operations. And so really for this particular project, those were just the only considerations we have from the Fort Rucker perspective. But I'm happy to answer any questions you got.
Well, first, thank you, Colonel Holcomb, for coming. We appreciate it, as we do with all people coming to the commission to speak and explain things to us. We do appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to do that. But I'd just like to ask if the commission have any question for Colonel Holcomb at this time. Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks.
Mr. Hardy, did you have any? Mr. Bott?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you guys have that other deck. We're just going to talk about
While Colonel Holcomb was here, I thought it would be prudent to, if the commission were to consider a residential neighborhood surrounding Shell Field, we've dealt with encroachment issues with joint land use study, compatible use studies, and have worked closely with Fort Rucker for I don't know, 20 years or more trying to do that. But I asked him if he would mind coming back and just elaborating on if it wasn't a warehouse project, if there were a neighborhood planned in that kind of space around Shell Field, what the impact would be to the installation. So,
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay, so kind of similar thing. So we showed that there was an exception because those buildings were to be used as storage. If, however, that was a residential area and those were houses that were under that, I don't know if we can go back. Yeah. Okay. Not a problem.
Mr. Hardy, there is a manufactured home that's next to that fence in that area where the work storage is going to be. Have you heard anything from those people?
I have not. They were here in the first meeting. We talked when we were going, but it might have been a B1 zone. They did not. I don't think they're here.
Okay, well, I was going to ask for public comment when we got to it, but I didn't. I just know it's one right next to it, and it used to be a mobile home. Okay, no problem. Go ahead, Carol. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that'll work. So, in essence, if these were residential areas, again, this particular one in purple is depicting the approach and departure. So you can picture the airspace of going up and out. There's height restrictions that we don't want to pierce that envelope. Now, I know you already have structural limitations on your residential homes not to exceed, I think it's 35 feet. So in this case, there is enough distance from the takeoff point. You can see these tick marks showing we're already out to 90 feet, 100 feet, et cetera, et cetera. So in this case, if that was a residential area, there would be absolutely no concerns because that airspace would go well above the roofs of the homes. Now, I'm not going to ask what the residents feel about a helicopter coming in right over their roofs, but that's not for me to say. Although I in all seriousness, I think it's probably something that you should consider because those residents coming in, this isn't just a single aircraft coming close to your home. And where I actually live on Fort Rucker, underneath one of the aircraft routes, and the aircraft have to maintain 1,000 feet above my house, and it's still enough to shake the windows, and we get a lot of traffic. It doesn't bother me. Everyone loves, in this community, hey, it's the sound of freedom. But I promise you, even your most patriotic person, after having somebody fly over their house at less than 100 feet, and these are flight school students, dozens a day, that's going to get old, even for the most patriotic among us. So something to consider, because this is going to be very, very close, and they will have aircraft flying right over their houses all the time, every day. So for the approach departure airspace, that's what it looks like. No operational concerns from my perspective because you already have regulations that prevent it from going into that envelope. The other one, however, so in this case, this airspace goes all the way down to the ground, right? Because what we're concerned about with this airspace is aircraft having to land due to an emergency in the cockpit or something mechanically going wrong with the helicopter itself. So that helicopter needs a clear space to actually land to the ground. So in this case, obviously, there is an overlap where the buildings would be and that 1,200 foot sort of rectangle. So the red space, which is 300 by 400, that depicts has to be completely clear. The blue space beyond that is 300 by 800, so that 400 plus 800 gets you the 1,200 feet. So that 800 foot distance is where also we don't want any residential in that particular box. So if a developer was bringing this, I would ask, hey, if there's a way you could reorient the warehouses so they stay out of those boxes. If they were between the lanes here, this area, then again we wouldn't have any issues. If they were out beyond the 1,200, again, no issues. And again, that's just something that we would ask. The DoD regulations, they limit us. So if you were to approve residences or houses in that area, what that would cause me to do as a commander, I would have to reduce my use of that runway. I would not be able to use that runway anymore. So in essence, by allowing houses within that zone, you're saying I can't use that runway at Shell Army Heliport. So obviously that would be a big operational impact, because you all know how busy that airport is. So that's really what it would look like if we approve residential communities right there abutting Shell. On the other side, there's enough distance between the end of the runway and the fence that this isn't an issue. But it just so happens on this edge, that's where it would impact. Likewise, if there's other areas that you would approve, really for us it's just Shell here. But that's where the impacts would be. And again, I'm happy to come back whenever you have a vote to provide information or answer any questions that you have. But if you guys have any questions on that, or if that makes sense or not.
Thank you. Commissioner, do you have any question on with Colonel Holcomb?
I don't have a question. I have a statement, if I could. I was going to say, as a former Army aviator stuff, you've now taken away my chances, because I'm going to try to avoid a build-up area. Because as an aviator, we always try to get away from those areas and land where I can when I'm not going to hurt anybody. But now I'm going to hurt myself and the crew. So we've got to seriously consider anything around Shell Field and any place else, because we don't want those kind of hazards out there. 6,000 hours of flying and stuff. I've flown in some tight areas, and I always was, what if? Where am I going to land now? And I always put down the students. Where am I going to go? I know that's a tree-lined area, but still, a tree line better than a bunch of buildings or whatever. We just got to be careful, because, as the Colonel said, the operational tempo goes down. We can't have that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else? Again, thank you, Colonel. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
At this time, we'll open the floor for public comments. If you have anything, would you like to come before the commission? Would it accept you at this time? If not, is the requester for this request, if you would come forward, please.
Josh Pipkin here on behalf of Brent Howell. I guess I would offer to the commission that, like Colonel said, we've got the exception here for this type of development. This is ideal, and also there's some to kind of address the issues that are relevant that you're bringing up about your safety area. I believe there's a lot of trees there. Some of them will be removed, so that could actually create some safety element there where there's no more trees for more space for landing that's required. But other than that, we just ask that you approve it.
As far as lighting, it's the sport. Have you any? As you stated,
discussed it briefly with the city and with the folks here, with Colonel Halcomb, but I don't see why that'd be an issue.
No problem in that area.
Not at all.
And your name again, sir?
Josh Pipkin.
Pipkin. Thank you, Mr. Pipkin. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Quick question: the poles for the lighting run. I've noticed some where I've got a storage place. They've got some pretty tall telephone poles up there with cameras and lights. You're going to think about the height for those too within that area. Because I know in one of the where I'm at, they put a pretty high poles just because they added cameras and stuff. So as long as they don't penetrate that airspace.
Yes, sir, exactly. Dallas Ford, Board of Engineering, perhaps we could look at orienting the light poles maybe outside of those accident potential zones, perhaps, and the ones that are in there maybe reducing the height and putting lights on the buildings and things of that nature to avoid maybe the approach height.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Appreciate it. Okay. Thank you again, sir. Ms. Harden, did you have anything else that you want to bring before I?
Yes, sir. We just wanted to reiterate that what Colonel Holcomb was saying about the airfield, or not, about the lanes. That would be residential. That this development, this zoning has nothing, or will not affect the lanes or anything like that. It's all good.
Okay.
So, question for you real quick, Thomas. So this being a planned business district and the lighting that the Colonel brought up, is that something that we need to make contingent in our approval, or is that something that the city does when it gets approved into the plan?
Okay, so what my recommendation was going to be was staff recommends that zoning is approved, that it be contingent on a master plan for the PBD being submitted to the planning commission for approval. That's basically how you run these type of planned business district, planned residential districts. You come and you approve the zoning for the use, and then they bring us back the plan. So basically, like when kind of treat this as like a preliminary plat for a subdivision, they're going to come back to us with construction drawings of what they're going to do, where they're going to do it, that kind of stuff, and then we will approve those. Yes, sir. So we'll be able to meet all buffer yards, contingencies, lighting restrictions, everything like that at a later date.
And I just want to reiterate the public hearing is closed, but
the city engineer Barrymont asked if that master plan would go before the planning commission with my contingency that I was going to request it would go before the planning commission for approval. Come to my office, I'd make sure everything is how it's supposed to be, and then I would send it to you with any comments that I have. But that way it could be approved by you, since this is technically it's a zoning matter, so it's going to be approved by you.
So you're requesting to be included in our motion?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
So
is it?
Yes, sir.
So specifically, would y'all ensure that the lighting will be down and not go up and interfere?
Yes, sir. We will specifically address any concern that was addressed tonight about the lighting, about anything else like that. We will make sure that there's adequate buffer zones per our ordinances, everything like that. And then once we get the plan, once this gets approved, because it still has to go through the city council to be approved for the zoning. But once we get the zoning approved, we get that master plan submitted to the engineering department. We will bring that back before the planning commission for the planning commission to approve.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commission, any other questions? Okay. Well, we have a request by Brent Howard for the rezoning of 18.757 acres of land from Agriculture District 2, shown on map A present, to planned business district as shown on map B, proposed located off of Sheffield Road. And this would be in contingency with the master plan for the PBD, planned business district, being submitted to the planning commission for approval. Now let's accept the motion at this time.
Second.
We have a motion. I have a motion and a second to approve a request by Brent Howard for the rezoning of 18.757 acres of land for Agriculture District 2, the planned business district located off of Sheffield Road, continues on ordinance 10/04/22 being passed, and if approved, that it be continues on the master plan for the planned business district being submitted to the planning commission for approval. But there in this discussion. He did. Are there any discussion from the commission? If not, we have a motion and a second. All in approval, raise your right hand. In approval, disapproval. So we have six for and 1 against. Noted at this time. Okay, so passed. Next on our agenda, we have a request by the City Enterprise Engineer Department to amend the zoning map to correct zoning error from MD Medical District as shown on map A present to R75 Residential District as shown on map B, proposed located at 101 Hillcrest Road, and that's R75S. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So if you look at the screen, you'll see what we're proposing. The issue that was brought up to the city was that the 101 Hillcrest Loop was actually zoned MD, which is our medical district. This has been a residential house. It has never been rezoned through requests or anything like that. There's never been a business ran out of this house, and we believe that this to be a zoning error. When we made the map, it just got included in there because of its proximity to the medical district. So what we're requesting is that we amend the map to move that 101 Hillcrest Loop back into R75S, so that way we can correct the zoning on the property.
Okay.
Any questions?
Question for Mr. Hardy at this time? If not, I'll open the floor for public comment for the question that we're on at this time. If not, I close the public hearing at this time. I have a motion to approve a request by the City Enterprise Engineering Department to amend the zoning map to correct the zoning error from MD Medical District to R75S Residential District located at 101 Hillcrest Loop. Are there any discussions? All in favor, raise your right hand. A motion? I accept the motion. Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second on the request. Any question? All in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Passes. Thank you very much. Is there any other business to come before the commission at this time? Okay. I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Passes. Thank you very much.
Yeah.